Welcome to the Genealogy Happy Hour, a place where new family historians can learn to document their family histories and celebrate their new discoveries. I'm Amy.
And I'm Penny, and we're here to help you discover your family tree from the beginning.
Welcome to episode 23. Today, Penny and I are going to discuss research trips. But first, we have some other things to talk about, like wine and books.
Right. So Amy and I have decided to sign up for a wine tasting event once a month. Kills the breeze on that one. And our first one was really good. We went to this little shop here in Tampa, a little wine shop. And
it's called this. We can talk about it. It's the Seminole Heights Wine Bar.
Yeah. And they had a sommelier there who was going over. So I guess they have a different one every month, or somebody new comes in. I'm not really sure. We've only been there once. But they were doing wines from the south of France.
From the Languedoc region.
Yeah. Yes, and I had just come back from France, not that region, but so it was really fun for me. And one of our favorites that we both took a bottle home was the Chardonnay by Gerard Bertrand. It is a reserve, and it was made with organic grapes, and it's a 2015. And learn something new because, we just like to drink wine, and we know what we like, but we're not, super knowledgeable in wine, but did learn the difference between the Southern French Chardonnays and Napa Chardonnays. And I thought it was so true because I am not a big Chardonnay fan because I think they're a little too rich or creamy and buttery, which is how our sommelier described them. Right. And the Chardonnays from the south of France are not like that at all. They're more light and crisp and so good.
Right. They're not too light, but they're, he described it between a combination of an in-between between the California Chardonnays, which have that really heavy flavor, and the lighter Burgundy Chardonnays of France. So, it was really good. They're really good, yeah. And I actually went to the wine store here in Tampa and found a couple other bottles of different vineyards from the Languedoc region, which is not a region that you really hear about too much when you're talking about France. So, and they were very, very good. So, definitely recommend checking out that region. So, yeah. Or
finding a place that does some wine tasting and learn some new,
absolutely,
some new wines.
Right.
Still not a red fan just yet. They were okay, but good whites, and they had a bubbly. The reds were okay, but I think I'm looking forward to next month. I think they're going to do Italian wine, so that should be a lot of fun. Yeah, it'll be fun.
All right, so we're going to put that one on our website.
We will.
Okay.
And next, probably while drinking wine, we both read the latest book by Nathan Dylan Goodwin, The Missing Man.
Yes, so good. Well, we love all of his books.
We do.
But this particular book dealt with the conclusion of the search for Morton Ferrier's father, biological father, because as you know, you've read all of the books, he's looking for his biological father in each one of the...
It's a kind of a background story.
Exactly.
Even though he's working on another case, there's always this mystery about his dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So finally we get the conclusion to that mystery.
All in itself.
In this book.
Yeah. So it was nice.
And it's a shorter book. It's just focused on that particular research project for him. So there's no other storyline going on too much other than that one. So, and it takes place in Boston. So he comes over to the States.
Not in England.
Yeah.
He got married. They're on their honeymoon.
Yeah.
And how sweet that his wife let him pick the honeymoon to come to Boston and do research.
Right. Right. Like, is that the perfect genealogy spouse or what?
I don't know how many of those there are out there that would do that. But yes, it was very good. And if you haven't read any of his books yet, Nathan Dylan Goodwin's books, they are so good. You should really try one.
Absolutely, because he's got good methodologies in his books. They're totally engaging and great mysteries with historical settings, and they're totally page turners. So yeah, once you start, you can't put it down. So, and I like it how I get them first, so that I can get
they come to Amy's
They come to me
house,
first. So yeah, I like that.
I have to wait, but it's worth the wait. It's worth the wait. They're so good.
All right, so research trips.
You
just came back from a research trip.
Well, it wasn't really a research trip, but I included research on the trip.
True. And then I'm about to embark on a research trip, so we thought this was a very good topic.
Certainly. So I went, my husband and I went with my parents to France, to the Alsace region, where my grandmother was born. She was born in a little town called Saint-Marie-aux-Mines. And my son, who was in Paris for a semester at grad school, met us over there. So he had a little spring break. And our trip was really to go and hang out with him and kind of show him the area where his great-grandmother was from. So we spent a lot of time touring some great little towns, so beautiful, drank a lot of wine. And we went to Saint Marie-aux-Mines. Really, I mean, this is my bad. Poor genealogist, poor research skills, everything. We kind of went there, and I had addresses in my files, but I didn't really print them off and bring them. So we had a photo, but in the end, it turns out this will give everyone hope to be able to go with very little and find something.
Okay, so what was the objective here?
We had a photo of my grandmother's two brothers when they were little. She wasn't even born yet, and her parents sitting in front of their home on this street, all doing a cheers thing with some beer. It was the two parents and the mom and dad and the two boys. And we wanted to find that location to see where their house was. My mother said she had been there before with her mom. They went back in the early 80s or mid 80s and has a picture of my grandmother in front of that house. But, we pull up into town and we're just like, well, where do you think it is, Mom? And, of course, she can't remember. We're walking around. We have no idea. All we have is the photo. Okay. The old photo. Not even the one with my grandmother.
No address?
This is... there was no address in the photo. Oh my gosh. So we were, and here, again, had I been, knowledgeable of and I had internet access, I could have pulled up my stuff on my phone. But, so we headed over to the town hall and walked in. Luckily, my son speaks very good French. So he talked to the guy in the front and he said, well, he couldn't help us, but he thought he knew somebody that could. So we waited a few minutes, and this lovely man, David, came out, and he looked at the picture, and he's like, oh, yeah, follow me.
He recognized it right away.
Right away.
Oh
I don't know how. But before we went, he said, is there anything? He said, come back to my office. And we went back in there, and he said, is there anything else you need? Well, hello. Yes, there's tons of stuff I need, but I did not plan for that at all. But I did know of one person and a date, for a death date that I was looking for. And he turned around, and we all followed his head as he turned towards the wall of every record book, in his office, walled of record books. And he pulled one off the shelf, and we started going through. And they looked just like the records that I have some copies of here, but couldn't find my ancestor in it at that point. But I thought, oh my gosh, can I just stay here and go through these books?
I bet.
And of course I couldn't. But anyway, then we trailed off and down a couple roads, and we were at the house, and it was exactly like it was in the picture. The same lamppost was still there, so we took a picture of us standing right about where they were standing. And
the pictures are amazing. We need to put them on the website so people can see the conscious thing, because it was just like it's exactly the place.
So had we not really stopped in and asked for some help, we wouldn't have found that. And I did, when we went to lunch, there was Wi-Fi at the lunch place, and I pulled up and found another address in there, and we were able to look on a map and find that one ourselves, and found a second house of some other ancestors that lived there. It was like last minute research, not well planned, but at least we, got a couple things done. And it was probably good for having my whole family there, because they could have cared less to stay in an office and looked up records. That would have been...
That wasn't the purpose of the trip.
That wasn't the purpose of the trip, and they would have been bored to tears.
Yeah.
So that would have to be another trip that I would go. Right. Although this wonderful man, David, said, email me what you want. Of course, he only speaks French. So I am in the process of putting together names and dates and documents that I would like to have copies of, and I will send.
So you made a great contact, and you know what repository now you need to do to be able to do your research. Now, in this region, you ran across the issue of this region went back and forth between France and Germany. So you've got records in German and records in French. So how is that an issue?
And I think it's a huge issue, because it might not be an issue to them over there, but to me, even let's go back to the addresses. When I was able to pull up the address we were looking for, it was in German, and so not what it is today. So I've got entirely different addresses listed depending on when the people were living there. And trying to figure out, one is on a rue de Guerre, which is the train. The train.
Right, the road to the train.
Well, there's no train in this town.
There's no train
Not
tracks.
now. I mean, there may have been back then, but there's no street when you look at a map that equates to the station or the train or anything like that. So that'll be another question for David when I send my list in. Like, what was this street renamed to, or what was it before?
So maybe finding a copy of a German map of the city would be
during that time
period would be very helpful to you as well.
Certainly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Certainly.
So what did you learn from? I mean, now this wasn't a research trip, and you weren't really planning on doing research. But if you were to go back, how would you plan for that?
That's a good question. I would plan well in advance. I would make sure I had contact with David that I was going to be coming, and schedule a time or a day or whatever that I could go through things. I would also ask him, because I know some of the ancestors were from surrounding towns or villages, if he had a contact there that would be willing to help me, that I could pre-set up.
That's a good point.
A visit there into their offices. I would have all my dates printed out, not just, I'm not going to rely on Wi-Fi, because you just can't over there unless you're paying a lot of money for it. But, all the people, all the dates, do as much research as I can online. Like I said, some of the records are online, and I would try to pull off everything I could there first, so I'm not doing double work that I didn't need to waste time on.
Right. Yeah, that's a big issue that we need to talk about is technology versus paper and pencil. And you really have to understand the repository of where you're going as to what you can use. For instance, when you're researching the National Archives, they don't let you take paper or pencil or anything in if you're looking at documents. They will provide you with paper and a pencil when you get up there. But you can take an iPad, or you might be able to take a computer up there. I had my iPad at the time. So in that case, and there's Wi-Fi available, so I could pull up my tree on my iPad and have that available to me. But in other locations, you can't take the electronics, and you have to rely on paper and pencil. Right. So, especially if you're going to a county courthouse, sometimes I had them not allow me to bring in a little charger that I had, like a little booster for my computer in case the battery went low. They would not let me take that into the courthouse at all.
Interesting.
They held it for me, and they gave it to me later on. So you really have to know what the security issues are at these different locations.
And can you take a picture of the document?
Can you take a picture? Right. Sometimes they can't. Right. Yeah. So what are all those variables, and is Wi-Fi available? So I've also found that to be an issue when I'm in a courthouse. Let's say I don't have Wi-Fi, so I don't have access to my stuff. So then you need the backup paperwork. So you've got to kind of be prepared for both situations.
Well, before we get into what to pack and stuff, let's start with your trip. You've got one coming up that is specifically for research.
It is. It's a specific research trip, and I have already contacted all the repositories to make sure that they're going to be there, that they're going to be open, and what days they're open. Especially if it's like a county historical society. This one particular repository I'm going to, it's a historical association. They're only open on Tuesdays and Thursdays between 10 and 3.
That would be good to know.
So you've got to know when you can, so you got to kind of plan around that. When's the library open, when the courthouse is open. In some counties, I have found if you go to the library, if they have a good genealogy library, or even some courthouses, they will give you a list of all the genealogical documents and where you can find them.
Oh.
So in this case, I'm going to Virginia, so they give me there's a list of these documents, or they have like the courthouse, the library, the Historical Society, the Virginia Library of Virginia, and the Virginia Historical Society.
Okay.
And then it's a complete sort of matrix of what documents you can find where.
Fantastic.
Is it indexes or is it original documents, those types of things. So that's really a great tool. I also found that helpful in Kentucky. When I was researching in Kentucky, it's like sort of a 3-county area, and they tell you what's available in which county, in the courthouse, the Kentucky library, that type of thing. So that's helpful to plan everything out. But especially if you're going to a state library, you might want to call ahead and tell them these are the documents that I'm looking for, so they can pull them ahead of time. Because sometimes it takes them a day or several hours to pull the documents. You have to put the request in and then you have to wait. So if they have that request ahead of time, when you get there, you can start researching right away.
Good tip.
Yeah.
Good tip.
So, but the most important thing is to already have done as much research as you can before you go. Because these librarians and the people who work there are so helpful, and they want to be helpful, but if you just go and say, I'm researching my ancestor, John Smith, can you show me everything you have on him?
They're not going to be happy with that.
Right. So you need to show that you know what you're talking about, and you have dates and you have information already.
Right.
So
These are the documents I already have. This is what I'm looking for specifically.
Right.
Yeah.
So make out that list ahead of time of the documents that you hope to find, and then make a list of all of the types of documents that you're going to be researching. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my research log, and I'm going to put in everything I'm going to be looking for, the deed books. Then I'm going to put in my court orders, everything I'm going to do at the courthouse. I'm going to make a list so I don't forget to make sure that I check something.
Excellent point.
And then same thing with the Library of Virginia. These are all the documents. These are all the things I want to look at while I'm there. And then just put in the date and fill in what you have found once you get there. So make those lists ahead of time so you know exactly what you're looking for, and then you don't miss out on anything.
Yes. And don't ever think that, I'll remember this, because you never will.
No. Well, and you're going to find things that will lead you off in a different direction.
Yes.
And you need to make sure that you come back to the focus of this research trip.
This is what I'm here to do.
Yeah. And it's going to be, especially if you have different family lines in that same area, all of a sudden you're going to find information on a different family line, and you're going to want to take off on that.
Yeah.
And you have to stay focused because you're time constrained.
Yes.
And you have to stay focused on this research project. Make notes so you can go back later and do another research.
And that might be something you could ask the librarian to pull and just send to you, or something.
That's a good point. Yeah. Now that you know that information is there, you can ask for a copy. And they, for a fee, and it's usually a small fee for copy fee, they'll be able to send that to you. But so definitely contact the repositories at least 2 weeks in advance to make sure that everybody's going to be there. The right people are going to be there, like you said. Your friend David. Now you know his name, but he also knows people.
Right.
That he can contact in these different areas. And
I would throw in here too, just as a backup, to maybe contact a professional genealogist in the area, and just say, hey, I'm going to be up there. I don't know, find somebody who's got maybe some free time in their schedule. You might not need them, but you might. And if you run into a lot of trouble, it might be nice to already have contacted somebody that you can then communicate with, and they could help you for a fee, obviously. But and
for an hour of a genealogist's time, it could save you 3 or 4 hours of searching. So I always chuckle at myself. My first time that I went to the National Archives in Washington, I was so excited because I thought I was going to look at Revolutionary War pension files, right? And because the one online wasn't complete, I wanted to see everything. So I walk in and I say, I want to see this person's Revolutionary War pension file. And they said, sure, absolutely. And they took me and they sent me down a computer and they said, go to fold 3.
You're like, I want to see
the document. What? Fold 3? What? I could have done this at home. So that was me not understanding what was available at the repository. And one of the problems was, because I had already seen everything on fold 3, one of the problems was it had not been photographed correctly, so it was very blurry, very hard to read. And so when I explained that to them, hoping that maybe I'll get to see them now, they went to the microfilm and they pulled the microfilm and they sent me down at the microfilm, and I was actually able to get a good copy of the document. But there's no way that you're going to be looking at the Revolutionary War pension files. Now, you can get your hands on the Civil War pension files, and that was so enlightening. I mean, that was just brilliant because there was so much in there that, particularly this one particular Civil War man that I was veteran that I was researching. He had actually fought for the Confederacy, and then he had switched and fought for the North. So they had his pension file because he tried to get a pension from the government for his Union service, and he got turned down. But there's all these letters back and forth, him trying to prove things, and statements, affidavits from his family members. So that was really, really cool that I finally got to get my hands on something. But so understanding what the repository has and what they're going to give you access to is very important. Yeah. So, and there's, again, do your online research first, know exactly what you're looking for when you go there.
Right. And things to take with you. You should always have a camera or your phone camera, your laptop or iPad or
thumb drives.
Something. Thumb drives for sure.
Yeah.
Backup batteries if you need that. Another thing to do is pack some clothes that if you find a cemetery in the area and you're going out into a cemetery, you might not know what kind of cemetery you're going into. So
I have a good story on that one.
Okay.
I did a research trip to Kentucky, and we went to the cemetery, and it was up in the woods. I mean, my in-laws knew where it was, but I mean, we had to 4-wheel drive it up, into this, and then hike through the woods to get to the cemetery. Awesome. It's very overgrown. Well, I was the only one who had brought my mud boots with me that go up to my knees, and everybody got chiggers except for me.
That's great.
So always take your mud boots from Walmart.
Maybe
with
some
you.
Bug repellent.
Definitely some bug. Yeah, I actually have a cemetery kit that I just keep in my car, I take with you. So yeah. It was definitely worth it. Those boots are worth it. So that just reminded me, on this trip, I'm going to a cemetery, so I need to take those boots with me.
Yeah, because you never know where it is or what the conditions are.
Every cemetery I've been to, they always have red ants. So I guess maybe just in the South. But.
And clothes in general, pack something comfortable because but not sweatpants or don't look tacky. Look presentable.
Absolutely,
but comfortable.
Absolutely, I think people will treat you professionally, always act in a professional manner, and be very thankful to the staff there because some county courthouses, the staff is not knowledgeable on those old documents that you're looking for, and so you really kind of have to convince them that you do have those documents here someplace, and and that might be where a local genealogist will be helpful to you, because they may know exactly and be able to communicate that to the county clerk staff, especially if they're new and younger.
Yes, so. Absolutely. Okay. Well, so you've done your research trip, you come home.
Yeah, this is the biggest thing that we fail at so much is we've got all this new stuff that we just found, and it's just going to sit there in a pile now.
Right. It's overwhelming. I mean, all this stuff you found. So yes, you need to take care of your data, that all the stuff that you've brought back, and especially if you don't have a computer with you on the trip, you should take some time to input everything into your personal program, whatever that is. I use Roots Magic, so put it in there.
And make sure you cite your sources.
Cite your sources,
absolutely. If you do take a laptop with you do take a computer with you, I like to try and sort of analyze what I got at the end of the day back in my hotel.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
And I know if you're staying with family or whatever, it can be a little harder to get that alone time. But try and do that as much as you can. And you also need to analyze what you're looking at every day, because you may realize that you need to go back and get something else that you didn't know was there. Mm-hmm. So, but for sure, at the end, when you get back home, go through everything you got and write up your research report.
Right.
Writing that research report is very important.
Yes. Hopefully you've been putting your input in on your research log as you're going along.
Yep. Yeah.
And either physically writing it in, or if you've got your log on your computer. I keep mine on Evernote. I've got all my templates for logs on there. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing to do when you get home is be sure and share what you learned with other family members or groups you have online, your Facebook groups for that particular line of genealogy. Share it. Yeah. You know, I know you spent the money going on the trip and digging all this up, but some people will never be able to make that trip.
Right.
And will be most appreciative for
genealogy is it's about sharing. It's about family and it is about sharing. And you might make a contact by sharing that information with someone who has information that you don't have. So you could end up getting, I've known many people who have made those connections because they've shared information, and then they have gotten a lot in return.
Yeah.
So, you find a cousin that you didn't know existed, and
All right. Well, speaking of cousins that you didn't know existed, I'm just going to throw this out there because I just found this yesterday, actually, and I thought this was a great tool. Cindy's List, which I think we've mentioned before, is cindy'slist.com. She just lists all the places you can do research at, or links to different websites and whatnot. And she has a bunch of really good templates on there for doing genealogical research. And one of them is called a cousins index. Mm-hmm. And I had to look at that. I'm like, what is that? First I thought it was, how you generate are you first cousin once removed kind of thing.
That's what I thought it was.
But it is not. Mm-hmm. It is a list. It's a template for a list. Like if you meet a cousin online on Facebook or doing your DNA research. I've got a lot of people that send me things when our DNA matches up. You can put their name and email in, where you found them, how you're connected, what the family line is, and I think there's another place for notes on whatever. So this way you can keep track of all these cousins that you're now collecting and easily see, just pull up your template and look for their name. Yes, okay, we're in the Stimmel line and we met through the DNA, ancestry DNA thing. So I love that. I love that template.
That's a good idea. That's a great idea.
So that's a good one to get, as well as your different research logs and templates, of which we have some on our website too. Yeah. These are all really good to use.
Yeah, that's important. Tracking the living people, tracking those sources those connections that you've made. So that's a good template to use. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
All right. Any other tips?
I think we've covered everything for research. Well, I mean, not everything, and there's a lot out there. Google it. Google research tips. I didn't see any. I was always looking for checklists of things, and there's a lot of checklists, but not like where you have just like bullet dot pack this. Not a packing list. I haven't found that yet. Maybe there's one out there, and you all know about it, and you can. Maybe
we need to write one.
Recommend it, or Amy can write one.
Oh, really? So, I just got volunteered for that. Okay.
This is what happens when you bring it up.
That's true. That's true. All right. Well, maybe we will just make one and we'll just put it up on our website.
Yeah, because I like to have something that I can print off and check as things are packed in. I don't need a whole paragraph about why I'm packing it.
Right.
I just want a checklist. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be a good one.
Okay.
So we encourage everybody to plan a trip.
Yep, plan a research trip. We just sat down here just before we started doing this, and we're planning a research trip together to Ohio
next year,
next April, to coincide with the OGS.
Yes,
the annual conference,
which is the Ohio Genealogical Society conference. We're going to hit that for a couple of days, not the whole time, I don't think, depending on how much research.
And are we also challenging each other to put in?
We are.
Okay,
we're challenging each other to put in an application for a pioneer of some sort.
Because we both have Ohio lines.
Yes. I have one in there already. I did one.
Yeah,
but
you do. Yeah.
I can definitely find
You're
another
ahead of
one
me
to
on that
do.
one. So, but yeah,
And
I should do that.
Get our certificate at the conference next year.
Okay.
So that's our plan. So we have less than a year to plan for it.
Yeah.
And get all our research done that we need to ahead of time and know where we're going.
Right, that's the hard part.
Right.
The easy part is just planning the trip.
Pre-plan the trip.
All right. So if you have any tips or tricks on research trips that you've taken, please send them to us. Email us at genealogyhappyhour@gmail.com. All right. Or you can email us from our website too, right?
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Okay. So until next time.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening. Please email us with any questions or comments at genealogyhappyhour@gmail.com.
Visit our website, www.genealogyhappyhour.com, for additional resources, books, and wines. Don't forget to drink responsibly
and never drink around genealogical documents.